So at Protocol Labs, we drive breakthroughs in computing to push humanity forward. We do this. Lot of there's a lot of missions and a lot of work that goes into many different fields. And what PL is it's a network of many organizations, hundreds of companies, driving breakthroughs in computing through an innovation network. We organize the network by thinking about all kinds of programs from the early stages of research all the way through technology translation to productionizing things, getting into finding how technologies can fit products, thinking about product market fit, and then enabling those products to grow and scale. Usually startups are kind of in the middle of this pipeline. And so there's a lot of work that goes into creating a technology that is either in early research or in that fundamental development phase that tends to be tragically underfunded. A lot of open source projects and a lot of open source technology happens in this area, and an enormous amount of the work that goes into building all of the technologies that we care about tends to be exactly in this area. So most of the projects across PL are open source projects, and so I want to speak a little bit about how that tends to go. So a lot of people contribute to open source for many, many reasons. Raise your hand if you contribute to open source. So great, about half, cool, awesome. The other half, why don't you contribute to open source? Most of what you do day to day relies on massive amounts of open source. Freeloaders, no, I'm kidding. Lots of people contribute to open source. People work on projects they care about. People work on projects they need. People tend to contribute to open source because they want to learn new skills or knowledge. Many people want to give back to the community, to give back in thanks for receiving open source themselves. Many people work in open source because they enjoy working with others, or they enjoy working on the tech itself. For many people, open source is an entry point to other things, to a job somewhere or a career or something like that. Open source is easy to start with. You can test the waters with many projects, with many organizations, and it allows you to try many different kinds of projects and technologies and so on. Open source tends to be a highly collaborative environment. You get to meet people from around the world with lots of different cultures, and you end up building affinities for various different groups or teams. For many people, open source is also the main thing they want to do. Many people just want to work on open source directly. They do not want to worry about building a product or a business or a company. So there's a lot of things that are hard about open source. Sometimes you like the notion of a team. Sometimes you like feedback or guidance or mentorship. You may like direction or focus. Sometimes you have long cycles where you file issues or file PRs, and you wait a very long time before you hear back. Often maintainers tend to be overloaded, so they tend to not process contributions very efficiently. But all of this is solvable. And one of the things we want to do is to create an environment that enables a lot of open source contributors to come together and solve a bunch of these problems for themselves and for each other. And so that's what led us to build the PL Dev Guild. This is going to be an open source support program. There's a lot of projects across the PL network. Of course, big projects like IPFS and Lipido-P and Filecoin, but also much smaller projects like multi-formats and IPLD, or even projects that are growing a lot like DRAMD. There's really tons of projects across the network, many different teams working in many different areas, some things like in deep cryptography and zero-knowledge proofs or in fully homomorphic encryption. So there's really something for everyone. And we want to create an environment that enables a lot of the core maintainers of those projects to mentor a new generation of developers and a new generation of contributors to those projects, and to put in a lot more of their time to support you in learning about those projects, in learning skills, in learning to contribute. And what you give back in return to them is contributions. You help build a project and scale it. We want to enable a lot of people to be able to access the time of these extremely, extremely skilled and knowledgeable people that tend to be extremely overcommitted. Now, we also want to be able to create an environment where you can learn from each other, where you'll have cohorts, so you can meet, learn, and grow with your peers, where you can grow a community and a network, and you can get connected to lots of other organizations in the PL network. A lot of you have told me over the last year that you really want to be able to tap into the professional network side of things, being able to connect with job opportunities at many of the companies that are building those projects. So there's a component for this. And of course, because we're trying to build public goods and we want to be able to support and reward the work that people do, we're also including a financial support component into this, where we'll be using blockchain infrastructure to build a retrospective public goods funding program to reward and support the contributions of people. And there'll be, we'll follow a structure similar to RetroPGF, where there'll be the Optimism RetroPGF, where there'll be a set of batch holders that'll pick the contributions that will kind of bucket them based on degrees of value. But again, like the financial component here is meant to be a support. It's not the main goal of the program. The main goal of the program is the mentorship, the connectivity, and the cohorts and the peer learning. And one really exciting piece of this is that we're going to launch the first cohort for Indian devs only in 2024. So we're targeting early January. Might be, depending on how many applications we get, and if you swarm us with an enormous amount of applications, that might push a little bit later, but we're targeting early January. So come join the PL Dev Guild, build with us, and we hope to build great projects with you. There's this QR code. If you're interested in the PL Dev Guild, scan this QR code and just fill out this very simple form. This is not the application. This is just telling us that you're interested in it, so that we send you the info once we have the application for you to use. Let me know when you are ready. I see a few people. Awesome. Cool, great. Awesome. And earlier, we had showed you a QR code that we thought was a Telegram group, but it wasn't. So here's the actual, wait, where'd it go? Can we bring it back? Great. So here's the actual QR code for the Telegram group. For those of you who have not joined the Telegram group, this will be valuable for you tomorrow. Cool, in case you wanted the PL Dev Guild one, here's that one again. Cool, I wanted to open up for a few questions on this, just to hear what people are, what you have in mind, and we'll put together a bunch of information to answer whatever questions you might have. So yeah, if you have some questions, just raise your hand and we'll bring a mic over to you. Any questions about the PL Dev Guild? No, it's good. You know everything. Awesome. Oh yeah, there we go. One question. Okay, here's the Telegram one again.
Yeah, thanks for this one. My question is, do I have to be like from a premium university like an IIT to apply, or what is the eligibility criteria to get selected into this? What proof of work would you need?
Yeah, so what is the eligibility criteria for the program? So the first and foremost thing that we care about is that we match make people to projects they can contribute to and they can learn through. So we want to find a good match for people. There's all kinds of projects. So some that are much lower level and kind of like deep in some deep technical fields. Others that are kind of easier and so on. It'll depend a bit on the mentors. So we're right now going through and recruiting the mentors. So depending on the projects and mentors that we have, that'll give us a sense of the degrees of knowledge that we need from the various people that we want to match those projects. So for example, with something like Lippy, we would want some experience and knowledge in networking and distributed systems and programming in some of those systems languages. However, you can get started. We really want to create an environment that tunes for students, where or professionals. So we really want to be able to create an environment where anybody, wherever you are, you don't have to be, coming from like a super top-notch, also like school or whatever. We are strong believers in the internet being this amazing leveler of the playing field, where if you are dedicated and you want to do this and you want to learn, you should be able to. And so we want to create an environment that can match you with the right project. Now, of course, we'll have limited spots, so we'll have to select folks depending on the projects and the mentors that are there. But yeah, you can think of in general, like, we'll look for, computer science background to some degree, being able to, depending on there's a lot of networking projects, so a bunch of those might require that, or distributed systems. It will, of course, help if you've already done a lot of open source contributions in the past, so you're not starting from scratch. But over time, maybe the program will scale and we'll be able to teach a lot of folks. Any other questions? Yeah.
So for retro PGFs, is it only for individual devs who want to contribute to open source? Or can it be, let's say, an individual dev who wants to contribute, probably get a grant and then build a business on top of it, even though it's open source?
Yeah, so all of the tech, when it's open source, you can do, usually most licenses are very permissive, so you can go build whatever you want on top. But for the people that are part of the guild, they'll also be eligible for some financial support for the contributions. We really want this to be like a great kind of part-time job for somebody. Like think of like maybe students in some of their years, or professionals that really want to kind of dive deeper into some project where this becomes kind of like a part-time job while they explore a new project or something like that. Who knows, if the project is super successful and super valuable and many other groups want to contribute, then maybe this could scale to full-time. I would love to get to a point where we can have guilds like this that support open source contribution for complete full-time work. That would be awesome. So we want to get there, but we got to start somewhere, and so we're going to start with kind of targeting part-time.